Welcome to this week's Roundtable meeting. I hold these every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And yeah, tonight I wanted to. So I wasn't available last week, and Bobby hosted. Thank you to Bobby. Um, and he was talking about customer experience. This was a topic that I wanted to talk about last week, and then I just wasn't able to make it. Um, and there are a couple of concepts that I wanted to share and chime in on this topic, and share some kind of connect them to some examples that have happened with real world appliance repair businesses that I've talked to or worked with. And then I want to tie that into two sort of topics that have been requested for tonight. One is from EJ around like systems and designing processes for your business, for hiring and growth and whatnot. And then Leon, which I do not think that Leon is on the call, at least not yet, but he wanted to talk a little bit about how businesses approach return customer. Like what do they do to stack the cards in their favor in order to get return business from their customers? And I think that both of these tie in real well to customer experience, if you will. So yeah, if with that, let me go ahead and jump in. I'm going to talk for a little bit and then try to open it up and get some of your guys' experiences and chiming in and all that, and we'll take things from there. There's, as we all hopefully know, customer experience is really important. This is something that is going to help generate referrals for your business, good online reviews, return customers, etc. And I've found that there are a couple of key concepts or core concepts that I think really are applicable to helping to create that great customer experience and really help put you in the mindset necessary to be able to do that. One of the big things is the ability to be empathic, the ability to put yourself in the shoes of that person on the other side of the phone or on the other side of the experience, etc. And this is going to help you start to see things in a way that is necessary to create that good customer experience. You need to be able to see things in a way that's beyond just your own point of view and your own goals with business growth, trying to get your days filled with a certain amount of service calls, all that kind of stuff. You want to balance your own perspective with putting yourself in the other person's shoes. And number two concept is the concept of setting expectations. So put yourself in an experience that you've been in the past where you're dealing with customer support. Maybe it's something to do with your phone service, something's going wrong with your utilities, or maybe health insurance problems if you've ever been chasing down something like that. So you've probably had an experience where your expectations weren't set very well. So it sets the stage for you to be disappointed in that experience of resolving how you got overcharged on your utility bill, or health insurance company didn't pay your claim out. If they're not setting your expectations, then it's a recipe for disaster. So flip that around into your guys' own experiences when you're answering the phones or when your CSRs are dealing with people calling in, and keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Do the people on the other side of that phone, do they have accurate expectations and an understanding of how your policies work with service call fees and whether they're applied in certain scenarios? Warranty situations are sometimes a little different between parts and labor. When the technician's going to show up, make sure their expectations are clear and they understand how your service call windows work, whether they're getting notifications, all that kind of stuff. And then number 3 concept, pretty straightforward, exceed those expectations. So you've painted a picture in their head. What can they expect working with your business? And then do more. So it's the concept of like over delivering, you know, and this can really open that door to that great customer experience. You know, Bobby, for example, I know he's on the call. He does a great job of getting reviews for his business. And I bet you there's things that he has to add, but in there, those 3 components is like this process that's followed. And I mean, on the high sides, I think Bobby's getting like 5-star reviews a week sometimes. But yeah, I think I'm going to shut up for a little bit, and would love to hear from some of you guys in terms of what works well, questions for myself, others. You know, make sure that you are unmuted, and yeah, I'd love to hear about somebody's experiences with you know, trying to create that great customer experience. What works, what doesn't. Don't be shy now, guys.
Well, I'll take it from where you left off with the reviews. I've really been trying to boost my reviews this year, and the platform I'm using with my invoice sending out. So when I send an invoice out, it automatically sends you a link that you can click, and it just kicks you right over to my Google review page. You know, and I've been trying to tell, you know, my customers, you know, if they could leave me an honest review of how they felt, you know, about their experience.
Yeah. Bobby, are you free to maybe share a little bit of some of your approach to that number 3? I'd like, because I think that you do this really well from what I've seen, that exceeding expectations.
I'd love to jump in right now, but I'm right in the middle of eating dinner, so I'm going to stay muted for a little bit longer, and then I'll try to promise.
No worries. Anybody have any questions?
Dave knows a lot about that stuff. Just throw him on the hot seat. He likes that stuff.
Well, yeah, let me ask Dave, because I believe that was Dave that was talking about the review follow-ups. So I'm gonna run with the ball.
Yeah, that was me.
Asked me. So Dave, what's your thoughts and your approach around that whole concept of putting yourself in the other person's shoes, setting expectations, exceeding expectations?
Yeah, I mean, putting yourself in the customer's shoes is something, you know, I got a new technician that I'm training. Well, I trained him kind of quickly. He's out on his own. He put a part in a washing machine that wasn't the repair. It wasn't the fix. And, you know, and he was asking me what I should do. And I said the same thing, you know, put yourself in that customer's perspective, and you got to take your mindset out of it. You know, we know these appliances and we know how they work. Put yourself in the aspect of, if you didn't know how anything worked, how would you like to be treated? You know, if you took your computer in or your car to the mechanic, you know, how would you want to be treated? So you know, how would I want business to be done, you know, with me or my family? So yeah, I mean, customer service, I say this all the time, you know, I'm not trying to make money. I'm trying to make customers. If you make customers, you're eventually going to make money. That's how that works. So, you know, everyone's like, how much do you charge? How much money are we making? I mean, yeah, we're all in it to make money. I get that, but I'm in it to build a customer base, you know, and once it's built, you know, you make more money. You can cut back on advertisement, or you can hire more techs. But yeah, I try to run my business 100% about my customers.
I might not have a ton to add, but I do have some experience, and setting expectations are telling people up front, in my opinion. Generally, if you have an office staff, they're going to give you the customer some form of information on, they'll call you that day with an appointment. We'll set the appointment here, but we don't know exactly what time it might be, things of that nature. And the technician will call you between 8 and 8:30. Setting those, they'll be there to work this day.
Hey,
I
Andrew,
have
I
a
think we
question.
might have lost you. Yeah. Andrew, I'm not sure if you can hear us, but I think you might have some connection issues going on. Andy, I see that you had raised your hand. Did you want to jump in here?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Hey, I'm Andy, here in Texas, East Texas. Really appreciate the invite, and just am excited to be a part of the conversation. Back to kind of the review, I think it all kind of does play in together. I do something similar with my program I use, Jobber. I put in a link to my Google review page, and it is something that I've been in the habit of asking for, just looking the person square in the eyes, like, hey, it really helps if you could click that link, leave us an honest review. Really appreciate that and help spread the word. But then I've got two technicians that if they would ask the question every time, I think they could get more reviews, but nobody loves your business like you love your business. So I wanted to ask the question. I've been kind of kicking around in my mind about incentivizing, to kind of incentivize them to at least ask the question of, the script that I just went through. But like, let's say I give my tech $10 for every positive or for every review that he drums up. Is that something that you think would be a good approach?
Anybody that has feedback, feel free to unmute and share. So again, the question was incentives for technicians to ask customers for reviews when in the home.
I would love to answer that one. Yes, absolutely. When you look at like what you're spending for your Google advertising, you look at what you're spending in advertising in any direction, any way. What's it all based down to? I mean, it's what is your Google reviews? How much traffic are you getting in? So, I mean, you're going to pay for advertising, but you're not going to pay your technicians to get you that same result. That's just counterproductive. If you look at, you do $10, for every 5-star review. Well, at the end of the month, how much is that legitimately? Let's just even give you a good number and say like 20, 25, 5-star reviews. Would you not spend, $250, to have 25 5-star reviews in a month? I mean, when it all breaks down to it, it's just most people don't want to get around that mindset of paying for the review to their technician. But in all honesty, any incentive to give your technicians that little bit of encouragement to give your customers a better experience is going to better you as a business. So I absolutely, agree 100%. Pay your technicians a bonus. Give them, $20 a 5-star review. You're not going to lose money on it. If anything, you're investing in yourself and in your company by doing so.
And also, I think it does kind of set them up to communicate better and set expectations themselves and just do a better job all around. It's not just about asking the question; it's about actually earning that 5-star review. So 100%, that's something I'm going to implement like ASAP.
Cool. I wanted to share a couple of, just to really kind of hit the point home, I wanted to share a couple of examples that I had mentioned that, businesses that I talk to or work with have experienced. And by all means, I welcome any of you guys if you want to share, whether it's like a horror story or, a success story. So there was a business recently where they got they got like one of those really long 1-star reviews. And there were a couple of things that played into this, but one of this was around, and this is an example of how you can set expectations. Notifications, en route notifications. What does the time frame look like? Your software that may be doing that. In this situation, the en route notification was getting sent to the customer maybe 5 minutes before the technician was at the door. And this was a situation where it was a property manager, so they had to commute to the property, and they were playing this game of technician shows up, waits 5-10 minutes, and then leaves, and then going back and forth, and it ended up with one of those really like bad, kind of scathing, and to a certain degree true of the experience reviews, and that was a tough one to respond to. Another one, standard stuff, but again, this is just put yourself in the person's shoes and think about how this feels. There's a situation where a technician went out to fix, it was a microwave, and it turns out that the part was not available. So we pretty much charged the service call fee, left, didn't really set many expectations leading into that situation, and also didn't really set the expectations of what next for this customer. And again, 1-star review, and then I kind of mentioned the third one that I had written down, which was the positive. But I know that one of the things that Bobby has talked about, what he does is when he goes in to the home, once he's finished up his repair, he looks for opportunities to be able to, give them tips on some preemptive maintenance of certain other appliances, or finding out if there's anything going on with other appliances. Just a simple concept of sort of like going above and beyond. Anybody want to share some examples of things they've experienced, whether it's a horror story or a great success story, around sort of like the expectations of the client being or the customer being out of line with the reality of the situation?
I know one of the big ones is always going to be what you don't have that part on your truck. And I can only just imagine everyone's, look on them, because no, we don't. So a lot of times, based on the part availability and how long it takes to reschedule that part and put that customer back into routes, everyone wants the first day complete, but in reality, that's not always possible based on circumstances. Granted, you always try to get as much information as you can, for the customer up front. That way you can go there with the best knowledge and mindset possible. But at the end of the day, you're not going to have every part for every job. That's all there is to it. But in some cases, what the customer's initial expectations are, and then when you come out there to tell them, they're hoping for it to be the button. The button doesn't work. No, I don't know how about you guys, but how many times have you found a dryer where the button is the problem? But it doesn't matter. I mean, that's their mindset before you arrive there. So always trying to understand and relate the information. I always try to, the word I would say, teach, my customers, here's what's going on, here's what's wrong with it. I show them the part on reliableparts.com. Here is the part, here's what I need to order. This is the cost of it. I relay and I break past that barrier of uncomfortableness, because they're able to see the part, they're able to see, what's going on with it. You're approaching that friend zone and not a stranger zone, because you're trying to be honest with them and show them in the best way, here's what you can do for them.
To touch on, what Alex was saying and what I was just saying, the friend owner, sometimes we are a business, but, we need to humanize, our business. Like you said, Alex, on that long review with the property management company versus the tech, and they're sending out, and you said it was a long review. So obviously there was probably, a few more hard review to reply to. See, I would rather have that type of review to reply to, you know, because as a business owner, I don't have nothing to hide, and I'm also not perfect. So, you know, if a customer leaves me a review like that and gives me a lot to go on, you know, I'm just gonna normalize myself, and you know, they might be right on some things, and I might be right on some things. And the big thing I have been trying to work on is to actually reply to these reviews. You know, the customer, good or bad, is taking time out of their day. They're going to Google. They're putting in their Google password. Oh, they forgot their login. They got to get a new password. They're doing all this stuff to leave your company a review. So you should take the time out of your day at least to reply to it. You know, even if it's a simple, hey, thanks for taking the time out of your day to leave us a review. We appreciate it. You know, I mentioned the microwave call, you know, where, you know, parts no longer available. Something like that, you know, me or my technician hopefully is going to say, hey, you know, either the part's not available or it ain't worth fixing. You know, I'm going to be honest with you, but you can go pick you out a microwave, and, you know, we come out and we can install it for you, you know, $150, or give them, like you said, a plan B or another option. Even if you don't install it, maybe you could tell them where to go, or who's got the best deals, or, you know, maybe what one costs, you know, just talk with them, you know, don't just collect the money and run out the door to the next call, you know.
Yeah, I really feel that it's kind of broad, but I feel that one of the keys to success in any business is being able to find the balance. You got to put yourself in your own shoes as the business owner, and then you also need to put yourself in that customer's shoes, on whoever's on the other side of whatever your business does. And if you're able to find that balance where you're providing an experience and you know, a service that you're gonna be happy with on both sides of that equation, then you know, you're on the way to some successful stuff. I do want to, and it ties in, but you know, EJ had, you know, these calls, we're going to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. And if people are going to, you know, speak up, especially ahead of time, we try to prioritize that. And EJ was talking about wanting to, you know, something along the lines of systems and standard operating procedures. And I want to try to tie that together with this whole concept of providing a great customer experience. You know, all these things that we're talking about, if you're like a one-person operation, or you're kind of keeping the scope of the things you're doing to create a great customer experience within your own sphere, that's great. You can just kind of shoot from the hip and you can follow your gut instinct and everything. But the second that you want to be able to scale the ability to provide that great customer experience beyond just yourself, you have to shift gears into systematizing and thinking through things in the perspective of, and again, same concept, put yourself in the other person's shoes, but this time it's an employee or a new hire. You know, what does this process look like and need to look like from that other person, and how do you document it? EJ, did you want to, I guess, you know a lot more than what I'm interpreting off what you wrote, but what exactly is it, or what are the things that you're kind of thinking through, or you wanted us to touch on around the systems and procedures?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. My name's EJ, by the way. What I'm talking about is, you know, there's several different types of people in this room. Myself, I'm a one-man show, about 2 years in, and I know there's several of you that have guys that are working for you and have built successful businesses. I've been working on the E-Myth book and going through those processes, and I'm realizing I need to set my processes up. The idea is to build a business that doesn't die when I do. And if I'm not there, will it still run? And right now the answer is no. But in order to hand this business off to other people to do these jobs so I don't have to do all of them, you have to set them up for success. I don't believe it's fair to put somebody in a job that you don't even know how to do yet. I imagine a lot of you are a lot like me and just shooting from the hip. Maybe it's educated guessing and, you know, just pulling it off of your head, and you feel like you know what you're doing, but how would somebody else know? So the idea is to document processes and standard procedures for doing things. So I'm just getting started with this, and I've done it for other jobs before, but I was kind of curious of how you guys started that process. And I've started today with setting up a template for my CSM, which is my wife. It's a cool title for her, but of information that we're looking for at a minimum from each call. And to some of the points there is this also is the first level of expectations and the experience with the customer. So we want it to be professional and friendly, and most of all, it's supposed to set me or the techs up for success for pre-diagnosing. So the second step was setting up a kind of a script for the CSM to kind of go through with different problems for different appliances to get the most amount of information. But that's just scratching the surface, guys. So if anybody has been there, done that, and has some success, I'd like to hear about it. If anybody has any ideas, because I'm just full of ideas and ready to go. But if somebody's already done it, we don't need to reinvent the wheel.
That's kind of a multi-headed question, I think. As far as trying to answer some of that, are you talking about trying to establish your PPC, your profit per call, and how do you set that up as a standard?
Not exactly, but I believe this will help that profit per call as a result of increasing the first call completes. But basically the question is setting up documented procedures. The keyword being documented and procedures, that I can just hand it over to somebody with a day's worth of training and say, here's how we do things. Now start doing it and have some level of success.
I don't think there's a standard handbook, you know, for you know, any one company, because every company's got their own little, you know, funky way of running effectively. And that's the key word there. I mean, it's effective because it's based on how that company is. Prime example, like me and, you know, being a one-man show, or a guy that has, you know, 10 employees and CSRs. I think it's all going to be based on, you know, always try to get as much information as you can. You know, in the very beginning, knowledge is power.
Right.
If you don't mind, let me try to help distill this down. You know, so who here, and not everybody has their camera on, so feel free to raise your hand or speak up or anything, but who here has a standardized script for answering the phone?
We do.
Cool. So Sean, do you guys have, is it the same script per sort of job type or appliance, or are there variations? And is there like a method to the madness behind how you made those sorts of determinations?
It's essentially a flow chart for my CSR that does not do much in regards to trying to delve into the specific issue. I'm on a serial number, but the other thing that we do is we also pre-screen calls the day prior. So I don't know if anyone uses data entry like CDA, Rossware, etc. Because my techs are all able to see their schedule via their smartphone. And that's how we do everything. We're completely paperless. So, and we also do a daily run before our day starts to our parts shops to replace parts we use on the truck stock and to pre-screen calls. We really try to do a first call complete to get done, and we have a good 90% ratio with that. And this is myself and 2 other techs that run 8 to 9 calls a day. But back to that though, I try not to have my CSR get too specific into details. I only find that it hinders our ability as technicians when my guys go to the house. We've had an issue where she's, told customers, we've had issues getting parts. That's not her job to do. At the end of the day, it's her job to get, name, address, phone number, what the issue is, model, still number, we can get out. So we do have a flow chart. We started this back in August of whenever she started with us, because before I was answering phones, and obviously someone that has a few years of experience can do a better job of doing it. But the ability to take that off my shoulders to really just focus on service work has helped tremendously. So if anyone needs a copy of it, it's unfortunately 4 pages long, but I'll be happy to share it to anyone. So
That's exactly what I'm asking about. Sean, thank you. I'd love a copy. I'll send you a message. But any other types of procedures, not specific, I understand every company is specific to their business and their company, but the idea is how to get it started, how did you start building it, and things like that. The flow chart, you're right on it. That makes sense. But any other things that anybody does as far as procedural?
For me, having expectations, and all my employees are subcontractors, but they have contracts that they sign with expectations. They know for the CSR, for hours they work, the technician for how many calls I expect them to run, the commission they get, and other benefits. I find is very important because I unfortunately had a secretary that worked for me for about 2 weeks that we had some issues with that turned into a just litigious nightmare. But thankfully for that contract it was signed, we were covered. So like I said, if you need one for employees for future techs, I'll be happy to send that over to you too. Again, it's very specialized for myself because again, I don't have W-2 employees. All my employees are 1099.
Great, thank you.
TK, were you going to?
So is this flow chart, Sean, you were talking about for 1090?
Say that again.
So you said you also have was that another flow chart for your 1099 employees, or is it just like you said something about your subcontracted employees, you had something for them?
So I have two
Wrote
separate
up.
ones. I have one that's a flow chart and an expectation sheet for my CSR.
Now-
And then I have a flow chart and an expectation sheet for what my service techs are.
I would love
I
a
like that.
copy of
I'd
that
like
as
to
well.
see what you got for your service tech one.
Yeah. Now, if you have any questions in regards to that, because I know some other people have asked me that on the forums before about W-2 versus 1099. I'll be happy to share that. Obviously not on this forum because I don't want to interrupt what Alex is trying to do here tonight.
And Sean, I'll circle up with you if you're open for sharing. Then maybe we can coordinate, and I can set up a link or something for people. But I do want to really quickly just sort of point out a couple things based off of what Sean was saying. First, there's a great example. He was talking about how CSR mentioned something to a customer about parts not being so available, et cetera. That's a great example of that whole concept of setting expectations, putting yourself in the customer's shoes, and that those sort of concepts that build into creating a great customer experience. And then also, coming off of EJ's question, and Bobby had made the point, is true. Every business is different. And there's all these unique or specialized aspects to each business that makes all of your businesses different. With that being said, there is no book on or process that's going to give you exactly how to create these things. But again, with the concepts, one of, and this is, I kind of heard this in what Sean was saying, but he didn't specifically say this, when you need to design procedures that you're documenting and handing to somebody, whether it's in a flow chart or a list, instructions, etc. how do you do it? You know, or who does it right now in the business? How do they do it? And you literally write it down step by step by step. And you start there. And as you go through that process, you're going to start to understand what the format needs to look like, etc. EJ had mentioned earlier that he's working through this book called the E-Myth Revisited, and that's how I actually pulled that right out of the book. He talks about that right in the book, where it's like you do the process yourself, you document it in detail, and then you format it for somebody else's consumption. And once you have done that for all the different processes and procedures in your business, you have your operating manual of your company right there. And then also another concept, ironically coming out of that book, and Sean had touched on this around the expectations with his contractors, something that is presented, you can Google it, it's called E-Myth Position Agreement. It's something that I use in my company. And the idea is that it's a 1 to 2 page document that just spells out very clearly what are the responsibilities of this position. And this is spelled out in a way where the employee or the contractor is agreeing to, this is the stuff that I'm going to be accountable for. It's a really good document to both, when you're developing it, put your brain through the process of, all this kind of stuff that we're talking about here. And then also, and part of it is that they sign it and you sign it. This also helps hold you accountable for providing the sort of support and resources that your staff or your contractor needs to fulfill their obligations. But it makes it very clear to come back to it whenever there's any kind of drifting, whether it's poor performance or whether it's a matter of you just revisiting things on an annual basis. Very clear. It's very good to go back to those sort of standardized documents. All right, let's shift gears or keep going. But let me kind of turn things over. I want to step off my podium and just open things up to you guys. So feel free to unmute. It looks like we have 2 people holding their hands up. Chris and TK, you guys go ahead and jump in. It sounds like you have something to say.
Hi, my name's Chris. I'm a new tech, about 6 months in the business, working for one of the big guys. I just wanted to address EJ's question. I think I understand more what he's asking as far as SOPs, SOGs go, rules and things like that. To me, that comes down to your professional qualities, responsibilities, and morals that you want out of your technician. As for like things that I haven't received a handbook on things to do and not to do when a customer asks you, like asking a customer if you can use their bathroom. I had to ask the guy that was training me, is that appropriate or not appropriate? So those are things that you have to think about yourself as far as, I've been a professional firefighter for 27 years now, and every SOP and SOG we have has somebody's name on it, right? It's something that some idiot did, and now we have a rule to keep us from doing that. So, I work for Mr. A, which is one of the big players out here in Vegas, and part-time, and they haven't given me a handbook or anything like that. I think a lot of that is if you hire somebody like my boss hired me, he just expects for me to have common sense, have professional qualities, and be a professional. And that's not too hard to do. But there's other guys that I work with at that facility that don't have that same quality of workmanship, work ethic, or just experience it and being professional. So I think that's something you have to write down from your own view and values. So that's just my take on it, just being a new guy. Thanks for letting me talk.
All right, I'll jump in. So yeah, we were talking about this last night actually, and the way I look at it is what you're doing, EJ, is exactly what you should do. Just start. Like, just get it going. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would almost say before you even think about getting to where you are now, start off with writing, if you haven't already, writing out your and this is what Zach Kreider mentioned last night, writing out your core values, your mission statement, and you know, a brief 1 to 2 page business plan. Because really, you don't have anything to base everything else off of until you know what you're all about, what you stand for, and can present that to any new employee. And that's your criteria for hiring too. You're looking for someone that exhibits these values and can fulfill this mission statement, and can be a part of this business plan. And that business plan should be something you share with your employees. You go over it with them, and you encourage them to, not just be a part of it, but it should be a frequently revisited thing that gets, changed, adapted, and evolves as your business evolves.
100%. I agree with all that. And I do kind of see too that, not everything's going to fit in a flow chart. Not everything's going to be a procedure. And what I realized real quick, as far as I do subcontractors as well. And one of the big headaches for me was just kind of finding a way to get myself out of the way of the business. Everything kind of revolves around my brain and my technical ability and my how to answer the phone and all this. So just kind of like stripping the ego aside and everything else, just step back and find a way to, I don't really worry so much about flowcharts and procedures and all that, but just finding a way to train these guys to where they have confidence and I have confidence in them that they're going to do as they've been trained. So, and I think any procedures, flowcharts that come out of that is just a part of me walking through that process. I definitely think it's a healthy exercise to go through as well, just to kind of put things down on paper and have those consistent and ongoing conversations.
I think a lot of the pills to swallow as a new business owner is that you can't expect the same out of your employees as of what you put into the company, because at the end of the day, this is your life. This is your livelihood. Other people rely on it. My wife and my family rely on me for that. And finding and weeding out technicians is very hard. And then my last job, I was lead service supervisor over 21 techs, and I had to also do the hiring process and the ride-along process. You're never going to find someone that's your exact clone, and I'm fortunate that the other two people with me are very comparable to that. But a flow chart did help me whenever I was with my own employer, weeding out people, because again, we hired a few Sears techs that were just very, wander specific, cook and clean. And they came from a mentality that they were just parts changers. They just ordered 5-6 warranty parts for, just something simple. And we'd have to go out after 4 or 5 times, and we're just losing money left and right. And of course, we were a large servicer at that time in the dealer, so service was just a subsidiary of sales. But just getting that out of someone's mind is very hard to do, I find. But you're exactly right.
Yeah, it is hard. And you're never gonna find someone that is exactly like you. But there's and let's not pretend like somebody can't completely come in and blow your socks off, and then 6 months down the road you realize, man, that was all a front. That dude was not who he showed me in the beginning. But I agree. I think there's a thin line. I think there's a good middle ground between that, scripted flow chart that you have to follow and train your employees on, and then the hands-on training part where they see, when a technician rides with, or an apprentice rides with me, and he sees the way that me and my partner treat our customers, we don't leave any gray area as far as how we treat them, and the amount of professionalism and just making sure that the customer's happy, no matter, whatever you got to do to make the customer happy, we try to do it to a certain degree. There's always that thin line where you have to cut it off, but I think there's a thin line, there's a nice median in between the two personally.
We find, and I was muted prior to this, a phone call the day prior from the CSR with a 2-hour time window. We call day out prior to stopping out to verify someone's available. We give them a 15-minute window, but we explain all this to them. And again, the data entry, which is very important for us too. After repair is done, we automatically send an email out a week after we're done to make sure everything's fine. And then within that is, if you're happy with us, please, review us. Like I said, we use CDA software, and we do that since before I was even taking appliance parts, because my family's been in the business since 1978. And the technology has come very far, and I'm not familiar with a lot of the other ones, but again, for us, a lot of the automated helps quite a bit. But for us, we feel the personal touch, that's kind of our slogan, professional service with a personal touch, going the extra mile. Just those little things you do really does help with customer experience and retention.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, EJ, do you want to delve into this anymore? I don't know if Alex is here anymore. I think he had to hop off. Oh, he's still here. Never mind. Go ahead, Alex. Or maybe he's not. All right, never mind. So EJ, did you want to delve into this anymore, or do you have any? Does anyone else have any questions as far as operations, etc.? Standard operating procedures, systems.
I'm good, TK. I appreciate all the input from everybody. Thank you.
All right. Well, I guess what we'll do is we'll just open up the table. Anybody that has something. It is currently 8:48, so we usually try to wrap up around 9. And if anybody has anything, just throw it out there.
Yeah, I kind of like, this is Dave, by the way. I kind of like where you guys were going about, you as the business owner, and you have employees and, or subcontractors, and you're trying to figure out how to remove yourself from the business. So that's kind of where I'm at now. I answer all my own calls. I've had some subcontractors over the time, part-time guys, and I just trained my first trainee full-time guy. And I just can't let go of the reins, man. I can't have somebody answer my phone. I can't have somebody do my taxes. I'm still 100% involved. And I am at that point to where like you guys said, you just feel like nobody can do it better than you. So eventually, I kind of like where you guys have been going, with these flow charts and training and everything, because eventually, it's getting to the point to I do heating and cooling as well. So in the summertime, I'm doing full system installs and taking, I'll take over 100 phone calls in a day, so I'm trying to do that while work, and then I got my techs calling me because they need advice or help. And it gets to be really stressful. And sometimes, your customer can hear that on the other end of the phone, when I start to get stressed out.
I'm not sure how long you've been in business, but one of those valuable lessons I learned was that business will always be there tomorrow. We are very stringent on we're 8 to 4, Monday through Friday. No weekends, no evenings. The voicemail is there. We'll get back to you tomorrow. If the customer can't respect your bounds outside of that, and I was you back in August of 18, I was taking 75 to 100 phone calls a day, trying to return voicemails, running 8 to 10 calls a day, and it just eats you. My wife said to me one day, I was sitting down returning emails at 9:30 at night after dinner. She's like, we're second to the business. And that was really an eye-opener. And that's whenever I got my secretary, and it's hard to let go. And we use Vonage for our business line, and the phone still rings to me. And I hate saying, let me rephrase, I hate that I'm saying I'm micromanaging, but it kind of a reassurance that the phone's getting answered. but at some point you have to be able to trust whoever you bring in. And yes, things will rise that will, come to you, customers, text, just as you said, parts, vendors, bills, but you have to be able to trust whoever you have doing what you're doing, that they're going to do the right job. And yes, it is very stressful, again, as a business owner, but it will pass and it will get better. I understand where you're coming from, because that's really rough.
One thing that I would recommend.
Yeah, see, I don't know. Oh, go ahead.
One thing that I would recommend, whenever you do get to that point where you do want to hire a CSR, put them in your truck. You already have the phones going to you. So have them next to you so you can see how they're talking to the customer. And then also, it's really good. Like a lot of CSRs, they don't know how it is on our end of things on having a route and the time it takes from point A to point B. And it'll kind of help them out understanding like what your job is, also along with you being able to, go over an angry customer or something. It's like, hey, this is how I de-escalate it, and you can just see how well they're taking care of the customers when they're next to you. You're going to be answering that anyways. And then you have to put it in another little nutshell too, is like, are you missing a call? And that goes to voicemail and that customer calls up, your competitor and books with them because you missed a call. And if you have a CSR that's all that they're doing, you're going to be able to gain that extra business. Of course, they're not going to get the customer service that you're going to provide because the tech side of things. If a customer, calls up and, oh, well, it's making this weird noise, you can kind of like, oh yeah, it's going to be this. And you can give them a gist if they're wanting to know, what a roundabout cost is. But you can always let your CSR know, hey, if they have any questions or anything, shoot me over a text message and I'll call the customer up, and you still provide that really good service. It can't be like, of course, up front, like right there on the same phone call, but you can easily call them back whenever you're ready and kind of go over those extra needs if that customer, has extra technical questions. I just have one CSR, and that's what I did, is I just had them ride with me, and and I was able to kind of critique them, because I still had to run service, but yet I wanted a CSR. I couldn't just hang back and let my two other technicians run. And then while I was just sitting there training for, a week or so, I just put them in right next to me.
I have a question. What, if any, I guess, what are the pros of having an in-house CSR as opposed to someone that is, like for instance, my lady, she's in Connecticut. I've never met her before other than on Zoom meetings, but she is a huge asset to my business. What are the pros of having that CSR in-house where you can actually, you know, talk, go see her, or get her to do other, local things or whatever?
I've had both, where one's been mobile and, was in Vegas, which was my mom that was answering the phones in Vegas. So our main is here in Denver, where we're a lot more busier. And then I finally hired in-house here, and it's definitely had its perks, like my core returns, shoot, I was too busy. I couldn't sit there, fill out the information and do the core return. So I had like 30 cores that I had her go through and knock out. The one thing that I like is, she automatically has our parts pulled for myself and my two other technicians. She does that the night before, right before she's ready to leave. That's her last task of the day, is to pull all the parts and get everything organized, where, I'm not getting into the morning and spending, 10, 15 minutes searching through, boxes and pulling parts and stuff like that. It's in a pile. That's mainly like the perks, and she's been able to run to the part house, pick up a part for us and drop it off to myself or another technician, to kind of save some time too, where we weren't having to run to the part house. I'd have her, go ahead and run and get that knocked out. And then at that particular junction, if she's doing something like that, I just have the phones forwarded over to me, for that hour, and take care of that side of things. If it's like first thing in the morning, it's busy in the office.
Yeah, that would be nice to have someone to do returns and core returns. That would be amazing. I hate that part of it.
Yeah, me too. They need to get rid of all the cores.
Working,
Come on,
working,
Whirlpool.
working remotely and not in your presence, what happens when there's downtime? Are you able to quantify, their efficiency when they're not on the phone, or maybe they don't have tasks or jobs or projects that need to be finished in between calls? So, that's probably a challenge of someone who's remote. Even with the great phone system like we have, we can track calls and missed calls and things like that, and how long they've been on D&D and stuff like that. But I mean, TK, if you've got somebody that's solid and you know her and it's a real close relationship, then you probably have nothing to worry about. But it's when you start to have people that you need to babysit, it's going to be hard to do it remotely for sure.
Yeah, I could imagine it could be really tough if I had someone that, because my lady, she has 20 years experience in the appliance repair industry. She used to work for Viking. She's top notch, and I could imagine if I had someone that was just not as familiar with the industry, it would be a nightmare trying to do it. But like she knows what needs to get done. But it's just one of those things that I've always considered and thought about in the back of my mind, like, well, what am I missing out on not having an in-house CSR? And there are definitely some
But what
pros
else?
to
What else?
having it.
What else can? What else can she do for you? Like, what other things do you have her do for you besides booking and taking service calls that she does remotely for you? Is it been helpful?
Oh yeah, she does everything. She does all of my warranty invoicing. She does
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Yeah.
yeah, she takes care of she pretty much runs the office end from Connecticut, virtually. Sets up all my
Isn't that
meetings, like if I
amazing?
have to
That's great.
meet with a property manager or anything like that.
One step closer, TK, to being in Connecticut and working with me, man.
Yeah, exactly. You found my house yet? All right, so it is 2 minutes to 9, guys. I guess what we'll do is just start wrapping things up. I usually hang out for a little bit afterwards. If anybody chooses to hang out, that's fine. I'm probably not gonna hang out that long tonight, but is there anything that anybody just got to get off of their chest before they get off? Feel free to throw it out there, or if not, we'll just get off.
Bogus companies on Google AdWords. We have 10 as the last that counted, and there's no way of getting them off. And we have literally 5 to 10 customers that call, and I'm not making this up, a day that will schedule with someone else, and they'll call the day before, the day of, saying we don't have someone in your area that can work on your product. And then they just find us. And I don't know of any way to combat that.
Well, that would definitely be an
You
Alex
can't.
question. I have no idea.
You have enough business, then don't worry
You
about it.
can't. People that have contacted Google and tried combating that same argument. Google does what they can to verify these false companies, but I mean, like Alex, we've talked to him before, they keep changing algorithms, trying to, find ways to combat all that. But, these companies, they got a lot of computer guys working for them too. We had the same issue here in the St. Louis area. Every city has, like my hometown's DeSoto. There's a DeSoto appliance repair. There is no DeSoto appliance repair. Every town's, there's a Festus, there's an Arnold. They just pick, and then they're just 1-800 numbers. They call them up, because when you Google appliance repair in your city, boom, that pops up first. And then the only way you can really combat it is to not do work for these middleman companies. You guys get the same phone calls that I get, hey, we're can you take work in your area? You know, if nobody's working for them, then eventually they can't be in business. You know, I mean, I know some guys are slow and I know some guys need work, but manufacturer, I mean, you should be doing that or COD, in my opinion. You shouldn't be taking these middlemen jobs. You're only hurting yourself.
Yeah, it's really just like the companies like applianceappointment.com and there's a few others, you know, that's their game. You know, it's not really like the Home Advisors and Angie's List, which I know they're the same, and Thumbtack. It's not really them that's doing it. It's just these small middleman startups that there's like, man, there's a lot of money to be made in it, you know, and then they sit there and start it up in one location and they get texts to run calls, and then they grow and grow and grow, and it just, you know, it screws everything up, you know. It's hopefully it'll go away, but I highly doubt it. As long as Google's getting their money and they're paying for AdWords and stuff like that, I don't think it's not going to change.
How do you, I got a question. How do you think they do on the in our area in Canada, in Edmonton, they have like 20 fake listing in locations. It's going to the same answering machine, or like it goes to like the same as call center. So imagine that in Edmonton, in Canada, it's like a pizza pie. It's like a circle. They put every location, like they make a perfect circle, 1, 2, 3, 4, all over the area. So when somebody goes into the map and do a Google search on the map, like say appliance repair near me, their location shows up. But there is no business in that area, but the listing is there.
Maybe we should all go get together and do a class action lawsuit against Google. No, I mean, there's no way. Those are all Google questions. You know, no one's going to be able to answer that, you know, except for Google, you know, and just what we got to deal with, you know. At least a lot of people, you know, they do a good job out there. You're going to be known, you know. You know, the best, you know, advertisements, word of mouth, you know, keep your customers happy. They're going to, you know, refer you. Best thing that I do is I tell customers whenever, hey, if you like me, pop me on your Nextdoor app. You know, tell me I did a good job, and I have gotten so much extra work just from that platform. You know, it's almost better than, you know, going through and having Google reviews, which we do, and we have, you know, other platforms that we have reviews too. But you know, that, you know, has really helped, you know, because someone's like, oh man, I need appliance repair. They'll go back to the feed and they're like, hey, I know someone recommended someone on here, and they'll ask, and then my name pops up again. So that might be one good thing to, you know, let your technicians know, because I started, you know, recently letting my technicians know, say, hey, you know, if you really like us, you know, give us a good word on Nextdoor if you're on that app, which a lot of people nowadays are.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think we just recently started messing with all the Google stuff and setting up our Google, I guess, page in the last, I don't know, 6 months or so. And then just really started pushing the reviews in the past few weeks. But, you know, we've been fortunate enough that between my partner and myself, we have enough COD work and property management work that we've been able to cut back a lot on the warranty work. So that's been really nice lately. And hopefully the Google will, you know, once we start, I guess, getting into where people actually see our page, we'll start getting more calls from that. Does anybody have any way, like, other than just asking every time, where they gauge how much of their work is coming from Google, or did you just ask when the person calls?
So we will ask, but I'm not sure if you're doing your AdWords or someone else's. You'll get a monthly report for like how many calls you get through and how people search for you. But we find we get 80% of our business through Google AdWords. And we run less than 5% warranty. And of the warranty, it's only high end for Miele, Viking, Perlick, a couple others. But I when we first started doing our advertising with AdWords and set up our Google business page, I made a point to ask people, it's like, how do you find us? Just, you know, casual conversation as we're trying to work on the product. And most people say it was just on a Google search, you know, finding reviews and whatnot. So, and we cut our advertising back by 50% last month, and we're still just as busy. So
That's
once you get
awesome.
your name out there with the reviews, again, we only have 66 or 67 reviews on Google right now, but we have 116 on Thumbtack and a couple other places. But like I said, once you get those reviews out there, it will pay for itself.
Did you set up your own AdWord, Sean?
I did, yes.
So you can also have tracking numbers on your Google page as well. That will tell you where they find you. We got tracking numbers from all different ways that we advertise. As far as getting reviews, we got about 369 reviews right now on Google. But every customer gets a request to leave a review after we're done doing the repair or doing the sale. So that's been really helpful for us.
That's good. One thing too, Sean, I know that you kind of brought up too, you know, on your Google page and then your Thumbtack page, is what's nice about Google. And I know some people don't want to spend a lot of money on like Thumbtack and other like third parties and stuff like that. But what makes it nice is on your Google page, it'll grab your Thumbtack reviews. It'll grab your Angie's List reviews. Thumbtack, you don't have to pay anything to get started with them, but not everyone has a Google account, nor they want to start open and add a Google account. They're not going to leave you a Google review if they don't have a Gmail account. So on my stuff, whenever I see that it's not a Gmail account, I'll send them over a request on my Thumbtack account or my Angie's List account for them to leave a review on that platform, because they can put in whatever email they want. And it's really quick, a couple clicks, and then boom, you get a review. And then that also attaches on your Google page. You'll see your Google rating, and then it'll also say, he's, you know, 4.9 on Thumbtack, you know, he's A rated on Angie's List. And that also kind of, you know, bumps your Google listing, your organic side of things to climb up, you know, also showing that you're a legit company, that you're having everything kind of migrate into your Google account. And it helps me out because they're like, man, you got excellent reviews on Google, Thumbtack, Angie's List. It's not like you're just paying like one company to get good reviews. You know, some customers are, they kind of see it's a multiple platforms, makes you kind of stand out really well too.
Well, in my area for Thumbtack, there's one other person. He's from the competition. I know him personally. He's just a one-man servicer. So it used to be us primarily. But with Thumbtack, it's $20 a month, and we still get 10 to 15 free leads from them. So that's the only reason I keep that active still, because that would go away, and that's a big thing for people, you know, looking for a company. But just to your point, you know, Yelp, Better Business Bureau, as outdated as it sounds, some people still leave reviews on there. We're not affiliated with them at all, but it still pops up. So, you know, making yourself as front page present when people are looking for you, that really does help.
Yeah, and depending on who you use for your website, TK, I have a review page on my website. You can actually go to my website and leave us a review. You know, because like previous guy said, you know, you might not go to Google, but you know, all these different platforms typically are going to try to kick you back to my website. So then when you click on my website, you know, you could also see a bunch of reviews left there to read. You know, it kind of, that helps too.
Does anyone use Square for credit card processing? Because we do. The reason I ask is a number of people leave reviews, but I don't know how to utilize that. You can obviously pay Square to advertise, but I don't know how those reviews can get in front of a, you know, potential customer.
You're getting hammered on your percentage using Square.
I use Square, but I don't know the answer.
I know I use Clover. I get a mobile terminal that can print out receipts and stuff like that, and it utilizes Yelp is integrated with them, where they can sign up and it'll automatically send them over a Yelp review. I personally don't like Yelp. I think they're crooked. You know, if you're not paying for advertisement, you're not really, they want to filter out your reviews if they don't use Yelp that often. I think it's ridiculous.
All right. Well, I think
Well, I'm getting off here, guys. It was nice chat with you.
yeah, it was nice chatting with you, man. Have a great night.
Thanks, man.
You too, brother.
Hey, EJ,
Yeah, I'm here.
is it all right if I pass you host? Because I actually have to jump too. Are you gonna
Sure.
hang out for a bit?
Yeah, I'll hang out.
All right, hang on. Let me figure out how to do it.
Don't really know how to operate host, but I'll be here.
Yeah, all you have to do is sit there and look pretty, buddy.
Got it.
All right, gentlemen, I'm gonna go through commissioner reports and all that fun jazz that we have to do. So take care. Have a good evening.
All right, I'm gonna hop off too, guys. Y'all have a great night, and I will catch you guys next week.
See you, TK. Thanks.
Thank you.
Stop, dog.
Does anybody have
Hey,
anything
Eve,
else they want to talk?
how long you been doing this?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing it for 2 years.
So I mean, there's so many people on here, and this wasn't really a conversation. So the dilemma I have is I work for it was a local company. I've been doing it for it'll be 16 years next month. And so we were recently purchased by another company out of a different city. And we've already lost 2 technicians because of management, and about 5 more are about ready to jump ship to other companies, various things. So I think me and another person that has been doing it for about 15 years are about ready to start up our own in the city, because we just do not agree with the expectations that they have versus the expectations that we grew up with are completely different. It's night and day different. I mean, they are not customer service oriented. They just, if they're busy, they just push you at the back of the line. So if you have, we do a lot of Sub-Zero and stuff. You could have a Sub-Zero refrigerator waiting for a door gasket, and they'll just keep pushing you 2-3 weeks out because they feel like they need to. There's just no customer service at all. So I think we're finally going to pull the pin and just go out on our own. Just because it's just a sinking ship. Same thing happened to me. If the management sucks, then one guy hired me. I worked for him only for 3 months, and then after 3 months, I started our own business. Yeah, the previous owner took care of you. I mean, just took care of you, and then it got to the point where I think it might be a husband and wife or a husband and ex-wife, and she did something shady. I called her out, and now she has told everyone she refused to even talk to me. They've owned it for 6 months. The only time I've met the new owners was the day they bought it 6 months ago. Other than that, I have never seen them since, and I barely even have talked to them since.
So what's your question?
I think I'm just with you, just because did you just go out on your own without ever having any experience in the appliance world 2 years ago?
Very limited. I worked for Sears for 4 months back in 2005, and I started my own appliance repair business in December 18. The whole period between there, I've been an electrical technician, industrial maintenance guy.
Oh, okay.
I fixed for a living. In the path, I have gotten into leadership positions as a supervisor and manager. So I believe that's helped me a lot in the business side. So, but what I'd ask you is, as a, what'd you say, 16-year technician, roughly, what is it that makes you want to own your own business, other than not liking the situation you're in? Because I'll tell you, not all good techs make good business owners, and not all good managers make good business owners. There's a whole lot more to it, and I'm sure you know, but I just challenge you to make sure that you want to do it, because it's bigger than you think.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I'm very sure it is. It's just, there's not, I live in a big city. There is not very many like servicer companies. We were probably the second biggest. We had 10 technicians, 3 or 4 people in the office, like 15 employees total, and before the new owners. And we were very, very highly recommended. I worked my ass off for the area that I work. Been there 16 years. Very good rapport and stuff. And then and then everybody, you Google anybody else in here, and it's just like D's on Google. I mean, people call us and say, we've seen the other ratings of people, in this city, and they're just night and day difference. But this ship is sinking because they're just turning into everybody else. And I was raised in the 16 years of being here, of being a customer service oriented before, getting the repair done, being on the customer service side, and then worrying about, the money later type of thing. And we just always try to take care of the high end customers. We always try to make them happy. And it's just night and day difference. I enjoy making people happy in the end, letting, just seeing what they have to offer, and just making them happy in the end. And now it's just, every time I talk to one of those people, I feel that I am going down the sinking ship, because they are just not happy. And it starts with the office. I mean, our new little manager guy, he just hangs up the phone when they start yelling at him. He can't diffuse the situation, and he literally just hangs up the phone. That is his solution to the problem. I don't want to be a part of it. And I think at this point, the only thing that I'm going to get what I feel is acceptable is to do it myself. Right. And that's why I never started something before, is because my previous owner, I mean, he did all that. He made sure every customer, whether you had an $18,000 Sub-Zero or you had a $1,000 Frigidaire, was treated the same.
It really sounds like in the right spot, man. My record would be stack up your funds, start getting the back end stuff started, because even with a wide open market, it'll be difficult for you to jump into 40-hour schedule every week. Do your homework, play ball as long as you can, and start building up what you got to do. Start doing it on the side. I actually had a full-time job for 1.5 years of my 2 years that gave me that comfort. And, that's how I built it. I went out and networked. You've been in the areas networking, maybe start dropping your name for side business.
I've definitely started handing out, like, basically giving them my name for the people that I've been servicing for all these years. Letting
EJ,
ones.
Go ahead, Doug.
EJ, I would imagine EJ, for the 1.5 years, you not only doing it part-time, you were working on all the non-appliance stuff, returns, accounts, websites, processes. How are you going to order your parts? When are you going to order your parts? And then now that you're doing it full time, you're probably tweaking it. So Mike, out of the gate, you've got to create everything from scratch. You know, if you do 8 to 10 calls now, you probably won't have the time to do 8 to 10 calls because you're going to have to put in an hour to 3 hours every day, taking care of your customers on the backside, ordering parts, getting parts in, letting them know they came in. And you know, we all might want to strive to be great. And your old owner probably had his butt in gear because if his parts department was crap. Well, then you're going to have complaints coming in from your customers that promise it was broken. So, yeah,
Right.
but just know you hear calls that you're doing now. I don't think because you're going to parts, when you're going to order, when you all that stuff. Gonna be it's a big deal, you know. So part time might be the way to go. That might even keep you sane. Yeah.
Yeah, Doug, you're breaking up. We caught a lot of what you started with for the first little bit. But to back you up, yeah, I mean, I'm doing 8 or 9 hours in the field, and an hour before I leave, probably 2 to 3 hours after I get home. I'm eat, sleep, and breathing this stuff, and that's after 2 years of building. When I started, I was getting about 6 calls a month, and you know, it slowly built up to 6 calls a week and 6 calls a day now. There's a lot that goes into it, and
I'm sure.
Start setting it up now, so that way you've got a smooth transition.
So AJ, you are running one mind in your business?
Yeah, just me and my wife answers the phones.
Oh, okay. How do you set up your phone? Like you're on the road, your wife, she's always at home taking calls in the.
Yes, my wife stays at home. We got a separate iPhone for the business, separate tablets, so she can answer the phone on the phone and set up the appointments on the tablet. And you know, we got that because, like somebody said earlier, you got to put the phone away at some point, because you know, at some point you got to stop taking.
I see.
What software do you guys use? Are you paperless, or do you have some sort of program that you like?
Doug might be better at answering this. I use Square for taking payments and tracking my my transactions, and I just do my scheduling on the iPhone calendar. Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, I mean, we've been using, you know, Rossware, which is pretty expensive.
That's
for
what we
a
use.
long time. So
How much is Rossware now?
But I've heard other companies, and there are a lot of them out there, right? EJ, House Call Pro. You definitely want to go paperless for sure. I think as soon as possible. But that's a great question on the Facebook page. Is to throw that out there. What's the simplest, cheapest, you know, paperless program? That I definitely think you should get that going sooner than later for sure.
Oh, well, yeah, I wouldn't want to go back because we switched to paperless like 3 years ago, and I that's the one thing that I don't know if I could go back to doing paper.
Yeah.
Hey, let me add this. If you ain't following the Appliance Alliance podcast on Facebook and YouTube, right now they've started last week a series where they're going through all of the different programs and
that's awesome.
interviewing.
Never
people.
even heard of it.
What's that?
I never even heard of it.
Well, just look it up on YouTube, Appliance Alliance podcast. It's TK and Zach Kreider, and they're doing the work for us, man. If you just wait and stay tuned, they're talking to the people firsthand that run them, and getting all the information. TK and Zach are asking the tough questions. I'm personally looking to go from Square to a professional system, but I know that they're doing the work, so I'm just going to watch and pay attention.
Right. I'm going to
Yeah.
add them now while we're.
So about the software used for scheduling and dispatching. When I was an employee before, we usually use Roseware, and because I started my own business, I use Household Pro, which is a little bit affordable, but I find that Roseware is very have many features compared to Household Pro. Although Household Pro is user friendly, but when it comes to like inventory tracking and sales and also auto routing like that, a Household Pro you save a lot of time. Lots of time. Like right now, I'm using a Household Pro, and it's just a pain. It's just there's no way to track your parts. You have to use a separate inventory software. That's the downside with the Household Pro. And I think also because we're using their payment system, they also charge too much on the processing payment.
How much are they charging, and is it just charging for credit cards?
I think they charge for credit cards only because that's the only thing you use their system when they do process that. When it goes to their processing payment. But when you do e-transfer, you just do manually update on the job that, okay, I do e-transfer, but the payment didn't went through them, it went to your bank. So there's no charge being charged you on that other than the monthly fees on the using the Household Pro.
I get it.
But this is for I think for a starter, I think for if you're a one man or maybe few technician, Household Pro is okay. But if you have lots of technician, Roseware is the best. Like in our company where I was employee, he got like 15 technicians and he can manage all the technicians and with no problem because the tracking is there on the Roseware. It's very good software. It's also very fast. Household Pro has so many like very laggy because of the, it's just it looks good, but when you're using it, it's just there's so many issues. But they keep improving. They keep improving, but they're using every time you use you add features, you have to pay. That's the downside. You keep adding features, adding features. They have the only good one also is that they can generate a website for you and they can book online through the website generated for you. That's also one advantage on Household Pro.
Yeah, I don't know what Rosware would cost if you were just a one man or two guy shop. It's gonna cost you money, right? I mean, you explained Household Pro pretty well. I get it now. Didn't understand it before, so thank you for explaining it. Free app to keep you organized, but you use their credit card processing, you pay a higher fee.
Yeah.
So, so anything that's free is not going to be great. And I see their model. They're saying, well, if you want a little more, you just got to pay a little bit. So obviously you got to pay. I can't remember I have 14 texts, and we do everything through it. Robo texting, robo calling, and there's fees here and there. It's thousands. It's $1,000, $2,000 a month for me. But for a one-man guy, I don't know what it costs. It's a great question to find out, but I bet you it's $400, $500 a month, maybe.
That's too much for a one-man guy.
Right. But you want to track your inventory and stuff, So Mike, you and a friend are getting
it is pretty good.
Yeah.
That's what we currently use now. So
yep.
But once again, we have 10 guys, so 8 now since 2 left.
Yeah. Where are you at, Mike? Where are you from?
Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus, Ohio. Gotcha.
There's another guy in our group from Columbus, Matthew James. You familiar with him?
Name doesn't ring a bell.
I think it's Boss Appliance.
That sounds familiar. I've seen when I was looking for other companies locally. That sounds familiar.
I think he might even be looking for a guy.
Yeah, I know.
check-
Yeah.
EJ, I've been hanging out on these Facebook pages now for a few years, and this pandemic year, last year and now, I just see tons of activity, brainstorming, trying to get answers, people starting out on their own, pulling it full time, growing it a couple techs. Obviously there's a huge business for appliance repair right now, and it's like a fury, right? And so Mike, I don't know, man. Maybe checking him out, because if he's on these groups here, right, EJ? What was it, Matt? You said if he, I haven't met one guy on one of these Zoom chats, or on these personal chat sites where they're going, how do I make a lot of money and screw people over? I just haven't seen it. It's all about how do we take care of our customers? How do we grow our business smartly? So who knows?
And that's
Maybe
funny.
Yeah.
And that's funny, because that is exactly how our new owners are.
Right.
Is
Yeah.
that one sentence that you just said, and it's infuriating me this whole time. But no, I mean, that's why, me and the other guy, I just joined the Facebook group like last week, and it's fun. It's actually been a really cool group. Just everyone's like post a question, and and I haven't really seen anyone go, "Oh, you don't know that, you idiot," or and I'm just like, thankfully, because like that drives me nuts when you're just like, "Hey, I'm legitimately looking for help," and and all these people just answer all these questions, and I was even answering wolf questions and stuff, because that's kind of what I specialized in, is Sub-Zero and Wolf. And
there are a few pages out there, and a couple of pages are a little more brutal, and but fine. I don't know which one you're talking about, but if it's looking good and you got people mentoring and guiding and asking good questions, brainstorming together, we're being solid as an industry. So
yeah, it's awesome. That's what it's about.
Yep.
Mike,
So
Mike, if you want an introduction, man, just hit me up. It's Everett Johnson, and that guy is Matthew James. I think he's got 2 to 3 guys now. Solid guy. His head's in the right spot, like you were talking. Like Doug's saying, like the rest of us. Might be a good thought before you go to do your own thing. Join somebody that is.
And Mike, it sounds so toxic where you're at. You know what I mean? People jumping ship, new ownership. That's stressful right there. New ownership. You gotta believe in your manager. If your manager is a dope, it's tough. And I bet you that half your stress every day is dealing with being disrespected and not treating well, and you going above and beyond to make your customer happy, while the people above you don't seem to give a crap about their happiness. That's a really toxic place to work. So I'd hate to see you rush into any one thing, and check all your options. And maybe working with Matthew is the perfect thing, or it's at least a temporary thing for a while, while you keep hanging out with us and learning from EJ. This guy's a machine already,
How's the COVID situation in your places there?
I'm sorry, say that again.
How's the COVID situation in your area?
Connecticut, it's dropping, but what happens when your technician has a cold or a fever or flu or stomach ache or headache? I'm keeping them home while they're getting tested. So January has been a terrible month for us. I had 11 techs out and had to reschedule a couple hundred calls. So I'm hoping February calms down a little bit.
We've had one tech get COVID, and that was 2 weeks ago. Out of the 8 to 10 that we have.
I'm not worrying about the ones who get it, which is we've only had one in a year and a couple months. I'm talking about the ones that are feeling sick. We used to feel sick and you go to work and you wipe your nose and you get going. But is your wiping your nose a COVID thing? Well, now you got to be safe and protective, and you got to pull them off the road.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't get to take a sick day, you get 2 weeks.
I've been pretty fortunate, so I will take it as best I can. That's all I can do.
Keep washing your hands.
Yeah.
Hey, that's
Just take it
the
one
thing
day at a
about
time.
Mike is a one-man tech. I got COVID myself in the middle of November, right as things are starting to heat up, man. All
Oh,
the
you got COVID too? I, I
yeah,
got it. I got to COVID December.
so my point is, I got COVID. I'm a one-man show, man. I had that's no income.
Yeah.
You know, if you ain't ready, you ain't got sick days. You ain't got somebody else to run your calls. You know, like I did network with another guy in town that don't do calls publicly, and I just had him as a backup plan. But all my customers were cool with waiting 2 weeks, luckily. But that's 2 weeks I didn't make money, and I had to work 6 days a week for 2-3 weeks to catch up. There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah. So I understand that's why we're looking at it. Me and my friends. So good. So it's all we can do. But all right, guys, I'm out of here. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Doug. Thanks for helping.
Good chatting with you, EJ. Thanks, buddy. Bye, Mike. Bye,
Thank you.
Genji.
We'll see you. Thanks.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, EJ. Thank you for everything, guys. Have a good night.
Yes, thank you all.
All right.